Hey everybody, fans of King of the Lake, Scott Meyer here, TD for this past King of the Lake amateur weekend, coming at you with to dispel a rumor and displace a myth, all right? While we do this, stay tuned afterwards because I'm going to discuss some lessons that we learned running King of the Lake this year and what we intend to run a smoother event next year. Okay, so I'm here to talk about one thing in particular with this video, and that is the rumor that the delays that were experienced for the final round of the Am weekend at Tahoe Vista were caused by the intermediate women group. Now, listen close. Come closer. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Listen, sucker, that's a blatant lie. It's a lie. It's an absolute lie, okay? When I scheduled the tee times, I was very, very careful about giving certain groups extra time, and up until the point of one thing happening, the first 30% of those tee times went out as scheduled, on schedule, okay? Something happened right before the intermediate women's group teed off that caused a problem. And they unjustly got the heat from a lot of people wanting to point the finger about why things got delayed from that point forward. Okay, so what happened? What happened was, I'm not going to name names. I'm not even going to tell you what division this was. But someone lost a disc on the very first hole they played, which was hole 10. Everyone was teeing off on hole 10. We used that as the starting point because it was closest to Tournament Central. So what happened? Everything was on schedule. Again, this guy refused to call time on a lost disc. Now, this brings to light a specific issue and illustrates your responsibility not only as a player, but as a competitor on the card of a player who may have lost a disc during a round. Why? Why is there a time limit and an established rule for this? Well, tee times are a prime example of what happens when people either don't want to throw in the towel when they haven't watched where their disc has gone, or they don't want to be put in a position to say, hey dude, it's been 3 minutes, we need to call time on this. You absolutely have to stick to this rule no matter how you feel about being a bad guy, or no matter how you feel about taking the stroke, because the person who made this decision at this tournament looked for 15 minutes, and then his group finished the hole. You caused a 15-minute delay, which compounded and complicated the issue, causing an even further delay. But let's just stick to the 15 minutes that you were responsible for. You caused a 15-minute delay for 150 people who played that hole behind you. The whole tournament was delayed because you were selfish and wouldn't call yourself on the rule. Okay? So, in the future, don't sit there and question why there's a rule. The fact is, you signed up for a tournament to compete, and there are rules to abide by. This isn't tags at your friendly, local disc golf course. This isn't doubles. This isn't a casual round with your friends. People paid to play. And it's your responsibility to respect the fact that other people would like to get home at a reasonable time and would like to complete their round in a reasonable time frame. Okay, that's my speech. That's my sermon on that particular rule violation. Now, here's what we've learned outside of that disc golf school or disc golf rules 101, okay? What we have learned at Tahoe Vista, no matter how far you go back, is that Tahoe Vista is inherently a difficult course to maintain a schedule, especially considering tee times. Okay, there's certain holes that are prone to backup, especially when people don't want to throw in the towel and they've lost a disc. All right. And aside from trying to schedule tee times very meticulously and very carefully, there are ways we're considering and have been discussing about remedying the situation. Okay, the first of which, I mean, you can look at the obvious solution and say, why don't you just do 2 shotgun starts or whatever? Okay, there's still going to be the same type of delays on certain problematic holes. Okay, and we're not trying to prolong or draw out the last round of a long and arduous weekend. We're trying to get people out of there at a reasonable time so they can drive safe and get home safe. Okay. I also want to make sure that you aren't iced on a hole having to wait 30 minutes or 40 minutes. In some previous years, people had to wait for up to 2 hours on one of these crazy holes. But anyway, we're working to fix the situation. Ultimately, I think what the best solution is going to end up being is that next year's King of the Lake is going to have a different structure where we don't finish at Tahoe Vista. Aside from the fact that you have to pay for parking, and you'll still have to pay for parking when you come to play around there, there's additions to the park like the ropes course. There were softball tournaments going on, causing parking problems. And not only that, honestly, the park isn't exactly accommodating in terms of requests to help us run a smooth tournament. Now, that's not to say the staff at the park aren't awesome, because those guys jumped on some problems we had and helped out immediately. Those guys, the maintenance guys, the grounds people, the operational people on the ground at the park are fantastic. I'm talking about the administrative people, and there's some inherent issues with the way things are handled that make it difficult to work with them. Okay, so next year, expect some changes, probably in the order of the courses you'll play. Don't expect to finish up at Tahoe Vista. We're probably going to try something different, which I do believe will help eliminate holdups and that type of thing with rounds and completion of the tournament next year. So I hope this has been an informative lesson for some of you. I hope some of you can put aside your what appears to be prejudice towards who you thought was the cause of the backup and the major delay. While we're talking about that, let's talk about something else. Now, there were a few other incremental delays caused by people who didn't bother to call or didn't bother to tell someone that they weren't going to show up. So we're pretty diligent about starting things on time and making sure tee times go off as scheduled. But if you don't show up because the course whipped your ass the day before, or because your feelings are hurt because you're not performing the way you thought you could, that's no one's fault but your own. Okay? Don't try to take it out on me or the people at the tournament or the course by not showing up. Take your lumps and let someone know what the hell's going on. Okay? Because while we're looking around for you, where's this guy? Hey, have you seen this guy? Does anyone know where this guy is? We may have added another minute to the delay, which we want to avoid at all costs, and which no one deserves to suffer just because you can't get your stuff together and have some respect or consideration for the people around you. Okay? So, if you plan on not showing up, for whatever reason, let someone know what's going on. And let me tell you something else while we're talking about things. I'm going to make some separate posts here, but here's something that I'd like people to consider. Listen, you're going to be late. You're not going to show up. Whatever. Here's a tip. The place to post this information is not on Facebook. Have you seen what's going on at Tournament Central during the organization of a tournament that is actually in full swing? No TD in their right mind is stopping to look at their Facebook page to see if someone has used that as the instrument for communication and contact to let them know that they're going to be late. If you're worried about being late, Facebook is the last place I'm going to check, okay? So, go on the PDGA page for the tournament. Look there. You'll find the tournament director's phone number. The tournament director for any reasonable tournament is going to have their phone on them at all times, just in case someone needs to contact them regarding an issue like this. Now, that was a lot to digest, people, but I hope some people can take away a lesson about consideration of the other players in their sport and try to avoid making these mistakes next year. We'll keep you posted over the next year as things progress, and of course, we will always do our best to run a more efficient tournament next time. Next video post regarding KOTL Am will address why certain AMs did not receive everything on their Christmas list in their players packs, and why the players packs were, although very fantastic with the help of Innova Champion discs, maybe not what people had in mind who had unrealistic expectations of a B tier and saw things that their friends got at an A tier. And anyway, I'm going to try, listen, I'm trying to take all the criticism with a grain of salt. We're learning lessons here, but there's certain inherent things that certain people don't understand about what they're entitled to and about how things work and why certain tournaments run the way they do and others run the way that they do. Okay? There's a difference between an A tier and a B tier, and we're not going to get into that now, but thank you for tuning in and listening to my rant. All I can tell you is that this is all part of a learning process, and we're doing our best to bring you the best possible tournaments that we can. Until next time.